Hey guys, welcome back to the How to Play series, and in today's video we're going to be covering the Clone Jet Trooper, probably one of my favorite units in Star Wars Battlefront 2 for a wide variety of reasons, which we're going to dive to in this video. And we're going to talk about the star cards you should be running with this guy, we're going to talk about all his abilities, his weaknesses, and the areas he excels in. And starting right off, we're going to go over his three main abilities. The one on the far left is basically the large jetpack jump. It lets him go extremely high up in the air and takes him a very far distance. This is very good for getting on top of high ground to escape other infantry's aim or sight, and just to move around the battlefront very quickly. It also allows you to go from high place to high place without having to lose that high ground, which can be very powerful in a fight. All in all, this is a very good tactic at outrunning your opponents, because while the Clone Jet Trooper is powerful, he doesn't have that much health, meaning you're going to need to move around quite often to avoid all the blaster bolts that are for certain going to be coming at you. Next, his middle ability is the rocket launcher, and all Jet Trooper classes have this, and even if they look different, they all do the exact same amount of damage, so it doesn't really matter which class you're using, this is going to be the same. The rocket launcher does a very high amount of damage against vehicles, and it can one-shot infantry if it's a direct hit anywhere on the body. If you hit it on the ground though, most of the time it'll take about 3/4 of their health away, letting you finish them off pretty easily with your pistol if you're prepared for that scenario. If the rocket's even just a little bit away from the opponent when you hit it though, most of the time it's not going to deal a ton of damage at all. And when it comes to heroes, the rocket can actually be a very powerful weapon if used correctly. But more often than not, it's going to be used against vehicles, so that this class has a fair chance of fighting all types of threats. And now moving into the final ability, this is the short but long jet jump, which doesn't propel you up in the sky at all, but it throws you a very far distance in whatever direction you're facing, and it's a continual jet blast, allowing you to go a very far distance, and basically it's move across the battlefront. I use this whenever I'm engaging with heroes in combat to get a very good distance between the hero and me most of the times to fire the rocket launcher, or just to get off a couple pistol shots on them while they have to advance. And it is a very powerful ability, but I still think the main jetpack ability is probably the greatest of the two. Now moving into weapons, for the Clone Jet Trooper, we have a very powerful pistol, a D45, and this is probably one of the strongest weapons in the game. It can 3-shot infantry, if not 2-shot, depending on if you're able to hit that headshot. And it has a very fast fire rate with a very quick cooldown speed, and it's just a very powerful weapon in general. It makes the Clone Jet Trooper one of the strongest units in Battlefront 2 right now, just due to its sheer damage output. And nothing on the Battlefront really rivals it other than a lightsaber. Not even hero blasters can deal the same amount of damage this thing has, other than possibly Finn's, but even then, this is a reinforcement, and it can do hero level damage, which is excellent. And now we're talking about the weaknesses of this class, and it's kind of one of its benefits is rockets. This class is not very strong when it comes to fighting off or explosives or heavy vehicles. It takes massive amounts of damage from those kind of classes, and while it's normally able to run away, rockets do have an area of effect damage, and so it can hit you just before you jump from the area, and they deal massive damage against the Clone Jet Trooper. But another thing that they're really weak against is heroes. You're probably going to notice a trend here. Most of the things the Jet Trooper is really good at taking down are things that it's also very vulnerable against. If it's a force hero who's able to force pull you or push you, it enables the Jet Trooper from using its jetpack, and if you're getting attacked by a lightsaber, it puts you on a 2-second cooldown before you can use your jetpack ability. Meaning, if a lightsaber hero ever gets close enough to hit you, and does hit you, chances of you being able to get away are very slow, because it's going to be a 2-second wait before you're even able to deploy your jetpack, which is your main form of movement as a Jet Trooper. And without that form of movement, death is more than likely. Now that we've covered that, let's talk about star cards for the Jet Trooper. And while star cards are shared across all classes, it won't really matter. In other ranking videos, I'm going to choose the exact same star cards, because they're the ones I always use. And the first one is the one that gives you health on kill. This is a very powerful star card, seeing as the Jet Trooper already has a low amount of health. So being able to gain back some of that health every time you kill an opponent is very powerful, and it can be very handy in most combat situations. And now the next one we're going to talk about is the one that increases the Jet Trooper's max health, because as it is, it has a fairly low health amount, but being able to just give you a couple more hits, if not 1 or 2 blasters bolts before you're dead, is just a very powerful ability all around. And then the final star card I want to go with is the star card, that increases the cooldown speed of all your jet abilities, because the jetpack is one of your biggest tools as a jet trooper, and the faster that thing can cool down, meaning you can use it longer, the better in most all scenarios. And with that, we've quickly covered the jet trooper and its weaknesses and bonuses. But one last thing I want to cover before we end off the video is try not to use the jet trooper in close spaces. In Capital Supremacy, when you're raiding opposing ships, it can be very powerful because you can cover that distance without infantry seeing you sometimes, and it allows you to really sneak in there and deal massive damage from behind enemy lines before they're able to really react to you. But in most other close quarter scenarios, this unit is extremely lackluster, and the jetpack doesn't really help when it can only fly a very short distance in close quarter scenarios. So really just try to use this thing at wide open maps or in like the first stage of Capital Supremacy before you move on to the opponent ship or friendly ship, because that's where this unit is going to excel greatly. And with that, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And with that, this is Jam and the Joker signing off. I hope you learned something new, and if you didn't, tell me what you'd like to see from these videos, and if they should be longer, and if that would basically allow you to learn more from them and improve your viewing experience. And with that, this is Jam and the Joker signing off. Have an awesome rest of your day. Peace.